Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for hopping on to today's live stream. Welcome to another week of Juan's Pensieve. This is the second week that we've been calling it like that, so hopefully it sticks. And yeah, thank you for being here on our fourth session, on our fourth weekly session. It's already been a month, so congrats to you all for being here after 1 month and tolerating with me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the people. Thank you to the people who joined the Discord channel. This week is gonna be we're gonna discuss a few things that are very interesting. So today's topic is about marketing trends in 2022. But instead of just giving my perspective and the perspective of a few colleagues and whatnot, I decided to review what's already out there, what people are already consuming on YouTube, Reddit, articles, things that we find online, and we want to debunk some of the myths and BS that's out there, because a lot of content creators, from what I've seen researching, they want to make their content unique by saying things that might be, let's just call it, that could create any what's the best word to describe it. They want to make their content shine by saying things that unpopular opinions, saying things that might be contradictory to the reality. So that being said, there aren't many announcements today. I think I've been a little bit more diligent this week, posting on social media, even though I've been traveling, a little bit sick at the beginning of the week. But hopefully, we get that ball rolling. We get more content out there regularly. One thing that I did want to announce is that we've already secured our first two Fireside chats. One of them will be on the 4th of March, so in just a couple of weeks, on Friday. And another one I'm still trying to schedule, so I'm not going to give any hints yet on what the topics will be, but rest assured that it's going to be very, 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 very interesting, very fruitful, very valuable. So hopefully, we get more of those incoming as well. So as soon as everything's settled and scheduled like to the dot, then I'll start sharing content about it on social media, and particularly on our Discord server, which this week started having a little bit more of that community environment, people talking, people introducing themselves. So thank you for those pioneers in the community. Thank you for hopping on. So let's get started, because I'm particularly excited about today's topic. Those who know me know that I'm a very skeptic person, a very analytical, and I see through the BS. So hopefully, without getting personal with any of these content creators, it's more about whether what they're claiming is reality, or whether it's too hard to determine whether it's real or not, whether it's just a subjective approach. So nothing to do with the content creators. It's more about the content itself and my perspective on that. So that being said, the weekly legal disclaimer that I have to do, which is, everything expressed in this live stream is my opinion alone. It does not represent that of my employers or former employers or people or clients or people I've worked with. So this is only Juan's perspective, my thoughts based on my experience. That being said, let's move to this other setup. All right, so the first thing I did was going to YouTube. You see that I have no ad blockers, nothing. I just want to see it raw as anyone else or most of the majority of people would see it. So I just typed in growth marketing in 2022. That should have at least the 2022 marketing and growth keywords, so that I get the best results for today's topic. Now, I came up with this idea just because I was looking for inspiration. So I was actually going to consume this content, and I opened one of these videos, started seeing the first maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute of that video, and I called the BS right away. And I was like, okay, this is actually a potentially good idea, reacting to these videos, calling out the BS, why it's BS, or you know, maybe the content creator doesn't necessarily have the most experience in the particular areas that they're talking about. So, and we would want to complement them, or yeah, complement their content. And most likely there will be a lot of these that are actual facts, things that you do see in the industry. So reinforcing and giving additional context to those that, from my perspective, are valid arguments, you know, that's also, I think that will also be valuable for our audience today. All right, let's go to the first video. And this was posted 4 weeks ago, so mid-January, which is great. Very timely at the beginning of the month. And most likely we won't go through the whole 10 minutes, so don't get scared, because that would mean we only see like 4 videos or whatnot. So let's just get picky with them.
No, for real, nobody taught me how to sell, right? That wasn't a class in school. That's not something my...
What trends dominated the internet over the past year and are only going to get hotter in 2022? Come along with me as we count down 5 huge digital marketing trends to keep your eye on this year. Keep watching.
Let's skip.
Your digital marketing in 2022. Now, if you're new to the crew, welcome.
Can you hear well?
Is here to help
Is the
you
volume
understand
okay?
the world of marketing, copywriting, and freelancing, so you can create a business you love, find the freedom you deserve, and live life on your terms. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe below, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified. 2022, starting less SEO and more value.
I'll just raise my hand real quick. That's BS. So without seeing the rest of the video, just because that is like they're claiming that there's a trend to reduce SEO and increase value, that already tells me that the person who came up with this list doesn't understand the impact of SEO or what SEO really is, because SEO is about creating more value. So it's a little bit more contradictory. So let's see what their claim is.
So, in my opinion, this isn't so much of a marketing trend as it is a marketing fact. Sorry.
Nah.
Not sorry. Over the last couple of years, there was a lot of focus placed on the importance of SEO and web page optimization. Everybody.
Okay, good thing that they separated SEO and web optimization. They're different things, and you could technically say web optimization is one vertical within SEO, but definitely separate things.
Everybody was talking about SEO this and SEO that. Oh, make sure you're optimizing your website or you won't get any attention and you won't get any sales. Now,
still true.
Don't come at me, SEO peeps, because I will be the first one to tell you that yes, if you can optimize your website, sales pages, and blog posts for search engine traffic without sacrificing the value of your content and messaging, then that is amazing. You should absolutely be.
Well, yeah, I mean, SEO should be for the people, for users. So not really sure. I mean, let's continue.
Doing that. But here's the real kicker and what smart marketers already know. SEO is not and will never be more important than the value you deliver.
Well, that's because SEO is supposed to be value, so
if the content and messaging you're delivering is valuable in and of itself, that is the number one, always, always, always most important thing.
then if it is valuable, then that means you are properly creating content optimized for search engines.
And SEO and optimization are secondary.
See that? Okay, so here's the thing. Adding value to users, that's the main focus for SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. If you're creating something that is optimized for search engines, it means that you are creating content that shows the right answer for someone who's looking for something on search engines such as Google. So if I'm looking for red t-shirt near me, and the first answer I get is red t-shirt for sale in this zip code, for example, that's optimized for matching my intent, but then as a user, I'm finding it very valuable. So that is search engine optimized, which means it is user optimized. Therefore, separating value from SEO, no.
And this is even more true now than ever before, because
So basically, SEO is more important than ever, is what she's saying.
here's the thing, right? Those pesky algorithms we know and love to hate are getting smarter, and they change all the damn time. Which means it's getting really hard to trick or hack the algorithm and search engines in your favor.
That's not what SEO is about. You don't have to. Yeah, it's not about hacking the algorithm in your favor. It's actually about solving the issue that the users are looking for.
So instead of racking your brain on what keyword density will land you on page 1 of Google, or playing a game of cat and mouse with the algorithm, focus instead on what really matters: your customers and the value they walk away with after visiting your website, right? Google is
SEO.
prioritizing quality authority content above all else.
Exactly.
So this is truly the most important SEO tip of them all, and it is a marketing trend that will never go out of.
Yeah, so basically SEO well done is a marketing trend going upwards. A wrong concept of SEO and black hat SEO is a negative trend. I would agree with that, but I think the statement of less SEO is definitely not. It's definitely BS, or it's just not real.
Of style. Okay, next up, number 4, influencer marketing and user-generated content.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So influencer and content marketing have been growing steadily for years. So again, this isn't anything new per se, but it's a trend that's continuing to grow on an astronomical scale. According to the IPA, no, not the beer, but the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, after the pandemic hit, the advertising industry saw about a 20% decline, whereas influencer and content marketing enjoyed a 46% increase.
Yeah, and guess what increased when advertising decreased? SEO increased. Actually, let me show you real quick. This is a tool that looks at search trends on Google, meaning over time, what's the popularity of a particular search term on Google. So if we look at SEO as a term, and then we look at the like all time from 2004, we'll see that December 2019 wasn't the greatest. It still increased its popularity compared to previous years in an increasing trend, or a growing trend, sorry. But then January 2020, that's when it began to increase, and that's not a coincidence that July, August 2020, so when the first chapter of the pandemic hit, that's when SEO became more relevant. People were more skeptical about ads. People were investing less in ads, therefore relying more on organic content, writing the content themselves, learning more about SEO. If we look at SEO agency, it's even more drastic. April 2020, look at this growth. SEO expert, let's see. Yeah, definitely a growing trend. These shifts here, if you see a note, it just says that Google, this tool, Google Trends, the way that it collected data, it was improved, and therefore there might be like a correction period right here for this spike. Let's continue watching though.
I mean, consider this for a second, right? Influencer marketing was only worth approximately $1.7 billion in 2017, only. But in 2021, influencer marketing racked in approximately $10.24 billion.
Yeah, the reality is that you feel more comfortable receiving suggestions on what to buy or what to use based off of someone that you know or you feel you know. So these influencers typically create a personal brand or a brand in general for themselves that creates trustworthiness from their followers. Therefore, I'd rather buy something that is recommended by someone I trust than just seeing an ad on Facebook or Google. So it makes sense, and I truly agree with this increasingly growing trend of influencers influencing marketing. Let's see third.
I know, right? right, maybe you already knew this, but LinkedIn has never really been one of the big guys when it comes to social media platforms, mostly because it's geared towards a very specific market, as well. So consider asking some of your best customers or some of your clients' best customers or previous students for video reviews or testimonials. This is something I do a lot at the pod. Don't sweat it, saying good things online connection. So seeing it, don't asking sometimes even that way is to remember will deliver. It's never really been one of the big guys when it comes to social media platforms. Sorry about that. Mostly because it's geared towards a very specific market. Professionals looking to connect with other professionals. But recently, LinkedIn has been seeing massive growth in its active users and platform engagement. Don't believe me? Just take a look at these stats. LinkedIn saw a 55% increase in conversations among connections in 2020. Content creation on LinkedIn increased 60% in 2020, and LinkedIn live streams increased by 437% in 2020. Even my very own LinkedIn newsletter, The Right Phrase Pays, saw amazing growth this past year, and I now have almost 75,000 subscribers.
It's interesting brand placement right there, but it is true. So if I'm assuming correctly, the trend here is that professional community engagement is growing, and I see that as well on Twitter as well as on LinkedIn. Twitter now has these spaces where like-minded professionals can discuss live on an audio-based live stream, so to speak, and it really helps bring together people that want to discuss a particular topic. So similarly to this live stream on Twitch and YouTube, you can do that as well on Twitter. You have live streaming on LinkedIn now as well. So, that's a very interesting trend as well, definitely.
So with the rise of online freelancers combined with the new features LinkedIn has launched, this platform should absolutely be part of your marketing strategy in 2022. All right, next up, trend number 2, online events and live video. Oh yeah, baby, making the list again this year, of course, you knew I was gonna say this, is video. This was actually my #1 trend last year, and it makes the list again this year #2, and for damn good reason. Online events like webinars, masterclasses, and lives are one of the most popular ways for people to connect with the brands and businesses they follow no matter where in the world they are. Video and online events have been on the rise for years, and listen up, 2022.
Live streaming is increasing, yes. Is it for every single brand? Not necessarily. A live stream from an e-commerce platform, for example, it has to be very well curated so that it engages with people. So let's talk about one that makes a lot of sense. So NerdWallet is a personal finance platform that allows you to learn more or increase your financial literacy in general for your personal finances in general. And I'm saying in general a lot, but that's a brief overview. So they not necessarily do live streams, but they do podcasts, and some of those podcasts have been recorded live, and that's the education part of it from the financial content that they create and financial tools they provide. They create those pieces of content that reach a broader audience, reach an audience that may not necessarily have time to be reading articles all the time, but that could be listening to their content when they're driving, when they're commuting. Similarly, live events, they're not necessarily for everyone, but it definitely helps bring together people that have particularly being separated physically for the past 2.5 years almost now, and people want to feel part of a community. And even though they're behind the screen, that engagement with users, potential clients, and whatnot definitely adds that layer of transparency and credibility to brands. Again, it's not for every brand, so it would be something that you would have to understand and analyze whether it fits your brand or not.
Will be no exception. I know this is probably a trend that will be hard for some of you to get behind. I mean, do we really have to put our faces on video to get ahead in this digital marketing age? Well, the data says yes, you definitely should be showing your face in front of your audience if you want to stay alive and thrive this year. Video continues to be the most engaging form of online content. So in 2020, 96% of consumers increased their online video consumption. 9 out of 10 viewers, that's 90% of viewers, said they wanted to see more videos from brands and businesses. And it's estimated that in 2022, the average person will spend 100 minutes per day watching video.
Yeah, I probably spend like 300 minutes per day watching videos, but that's the way that I learned. That's the way that I keep up to date with anything on the professional side and personal side. Like if I'm eating lunch and I'm alone at home because my wife is working, then I'll just watch videos and try and learn something while I'm eating, get my brain distracted from what I'm doing at work, so that when I come back from lunch, I have a fresh mind, something I was able to disconnect. But instead of reading an article or whatever, like, because I mean that's the way that I work. Like if I read an article while eating, I'll probably fall asleep. But watching a video, asking questions while they're presenting the content, that's definitely something helpful, and I definitely agree that this is a growing trend.
Copy might be queen and content might be king, but no matter which form of online marketing you're conducting, video reigns supreme. All right, so now we are moving on to the #1 trend on my list. Can you guess what it is? #1 is email, email, email. Hey, remember that massive global server crash that happened back in October of 2021 that took down Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp like for an entire day? Yeah, for an entire day, businesses, brands, and marketers everywhere were completely disconnected from their online audiences and social followings. Well, that server crash was a major eye-opener that many digital marketers needed, and that is this: you do not own your social audiences, which means that when a server crashes, or worst case scenario, the platform just shuts down altogether, you lose all of those leads, all of those followers, all of those customers, all of those eyeballs, right? Yikes.
Well, I mean, I partially agree with this. So email has always been a channel of communication, both for internally in organizations and externally facing with providers, clients, and whatnot. I think putting it as a #1 trend, I'm not entirely sure I agree, but it's definitely something that companies need to work more on, because if they don't convert those followers on social media, though their audiences, into a database or CRM that they can communicate with periodically on a one-to-one basis, then that's a big problem. That's a big conversion issue. That's a big retention issue. A good email marketing strategy will continue informed and continue to educate their clients and potential clients into why their solution is the best. But not only that, it'll also provide them value into insights, content that will help them solve their current problems. So, as a trend, I think it's just something that is already a part of our day-to-day lives in marketing, not necessarily sure it's a #1 trend, but I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily agree it's a trend, but it's definitely something very important in a day-to-day life of a marketer.
But 2021 woke us up to the reality that email marketing is currently and always will be the single best way to market your brand or business, increase your revenue, and cash in on more conversions. It is
Okay, interesting statement. Let's just see what they say. It's better than paid advertising. It depends on which stage of the funnel the users are. If you already have their emails, then sure, might be better to engage with them via email than paid advertising. But if you don't have their emails, how are you going to get them? You still need to acquire those leads, right?
better than paid advertising, it is better than social media, and it is better from organic traffic that you would get from SEO. But don't just take my word for it, don't come at me. Here are some stats to prove it. It is estimated that there are 4 billion
Okay, so there's some data. Can I ask you a thing? Yeah, please do ask. And while you type, I'll just say something. So I think the video in general, it's okay. So I think the video in itself has very valuable content. I think there are two things that I don't agree with. One is that SEO is a downtrending, a trend going down. I definitely disagree with that, and I'm not sure I agree with email, or at least their perspective on email. But I think everything else is on point, and yeah, I'm actually gonna. Well, I already liked it, and I'm gonna subscribe just to see what Alex Gattoni continues to post. I think I'll definitely be looking at their content. Appreciate it. Okay, so the question is, what's the point of being a businessman if we can't wear suits and go to the office? Well, that's a very interesting question. I didn't know that. I mean, if you want to be a businessman to just wear a suit and go to the office, you can always rent a suit and get a subscription to WeWork or another co-working space. But it's not necessarily the point of being a businessman. Being a businessman is growing a business, and the purpose of a business is to increase the value for shareholders. So if you can do that without wearing a suit and without being in office, you're still a businessman, so, or businesswoman, business person. So to each their own. Interesting question. Thank you for that question, Adam. Adam and a bunch of more letters that I don't dare to pronounce. Okay, so we saw this video. There are probably more. Let's see what else is out there. Neil Patel. So I've consumed Neil Patel's content for about 8 years or so. So this is digital marketing going to be saturated in 2022? I'm not necessarily sure that fits with our trends, but let's see if he has more. Okay, this is an interesting one, but it has Tony Robbins on it, and I'm not necessarily sure I want to listen to that. Nothing against him, it's just that, I mean, that actually might be just a clip within the video, so actually let's open it.
Are you a podcaster? You should check out Riverside FM. It's your new online recording.
I didn't study finance to study at home like a fool all day at the computer. If I loved computers so much, I would study computer engineering. This is what Adam is saying on Twitch, by the way. I'm reading out loud. And Adam also says, I want to go back to the 90s, to the 80s, and work on Wall Street. So, yeah, I mean, it would be hard to create a time traveling machine right now, but you can still work in finance without being on the computer all day. You could be on your phone all day. But so I mean, it's hard. I mean, the scale of finance right now, doing it all manual at high scale, at a large scale, would be pretty freaking difficult to do with a computer right now, or even a couple of computers. So I mean, you don't like computers and you don't like the fact that finance is done on computers, you can probably work on another field that doesn't require you to be on the computer all day. You could be using your calculator all day. It would be interesting to see what sort of fields within finance you can do without a computer. But yeah, I mean, agree, I guess. I mean, I personally don't enjoy being on the computer all day. I take a lot of breaks, more than I should probably, just to get out of away from the screens. So we'll see how that evolves. Andres on YouTube says, hi Juan, do you think in the future companies will spend more on content rather than on advertising, as ads are getting expensive almost every quarter? Yes, and the reason why I believe that is because I think companies would rather. So here's the thing, content in itself, quality content on your site, impacts the cost of your ads as well. So if your website has a bunch of blog articles that are well written, you are creating authority for that domain, for that website, in particular topics and keywords, or topics as keywords clusters, right? And the more authority you create on that, then when you run ads, the cheaper it'll be to bid for those keywords because your domain already ranks well for it. So shifting your investment towards a more content-oriented approach will definitely benefit in the long term, because you'll be generating more authority, which will decrease your ad spend. And that's not only focused on SEO, organic traffic through search engines. That's also true by leveraging other channels, such as organic social media, or social media through organic channels, so non-paid social media, email marketing. By doing that, you are creating more value and exposing more value of your website and your domain in general than just a simple ad that could be targeted and could be even blocked through certain apps and extensions and whatnot. So I definitely think that company will spend more on content rather than advertising. So if you think of content not just as written content but also video content, you'll see that YouTube continues to increase. And because they continue to increase in terms of videos published per day, average viewer time, that's why YouTube is increasing the amount of ads you see on every video and the placement of the ads, so beginning, during, at the end, a bunch of different types of videos. So whenever you see a place that is getting bombarded by ads, that means it's getting a lot of eyes, and therefore it might be worth exploring content opportunity within that placement. Another thing is that without entering in the whole metaverse discussion and whatnot, I do think that we will have more people consume content in different environments. Therefore, creating content in all those different environments will definitely help reduce the amount of investment required in advertising. That's also another reason why the facts show that SEO is growing. Companies are realizing that, yes, in some cases, SEO might take a while to generate an impact on revenue in some cases, but the longer you take to start working on it, the longer it'll take to make an impact. So the sooner you start working on organically generated traffic to your sites and apps, then the quicker you'll see results. Thanks for the question.
To the top 5 marketing trends that are coming up. Now, these aren't predictions.
All right, this one has
people like Joe Rogan with the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. He's had it on YouTube for a while. Recently shifted over to Spotify, and then people freaked out because they really wanted it back on YouTube. You can still find his clips, but guess what? Outside of Joe Rogan now, more and more.
Okay, so the first trend that this content creator called Pat Flynn is talking about is podcasting on YouTube. I mean, that's very specific. Podcasting on YouTube specifically. I think I agree on podcasting in general. Podcasting on YouTube is interesting because I do know that not a lot of people enjoy, and this is from a personal perspective because of people I've talked to in the past about podcasting. I do know that a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy just listening, and a lot of people enjoy watching. Which for me, I actually listen to podcasts more than I watch them, just because I take advantage whenever I go to Miami. It's a 2.5-hour drive, and that's when I consume a bunch of podcasts while my wife sleeps. But then I can't watch them while I drive. That would be very irresponsible. I'm not gonna take a risk. And then when I'm on my computer, I already have 2 laptops and a big screen, and sometimes I run out of space, screen space to work and stuff. So I'm not gonna be getting distracted. Instead, with audio, I just play it on my Alexa on the background, and I listen to it passively and continue to work. So interesting.
Where people are coming onto this bandwagon of using YouTube for podcasting. We have big influencers like MKBHD in his show Waveform, Peter McKinnon in his podcast with Maddie on his channel. My favorite to watch is Colin and Samir, who break down a lot of influencers and sort of what they do to grow big.
Colin and Samir is great, by the way. You should watch
interviews, but obviously they have the camera on because that's what they're good at, and they're using YouTube to expand their brand there. But here's the other thing: there are audio podcasts now who are deciding to turn on the camera. They weren't on YouTube before; they were just on Apple and Spotify and whatnot, and they're turning on the cameras and turning those interviews now into video content here on this platform. Some are creating long-form episodes and they're putting it into a separate channel. Others are taking
so the benefit of creating video podcasts is that, video podcasts is that you can also clip it, and it makes more sense for social media and other placements to use those clips to, generate more evergreen content than just the whole episode. It's difficult to do that with just an audio podcast because you could probably use waveforms and audiograms or whatnot to make it dynamic on social media, but you can't just upload an audio file to Instagram, for example. So yeah, definitely interesting why that trend is coming along. And then there's other people who didn't used to do podcasts but created video content and are now leveraging their experience with video to create this podcast. So interesting.
Snippets of those conversations and putting them on YouTube and using search to grow and expand their brand. And here's the thing: more podcasters and non-podcasters.
Let's jump onto the other trend. So I definitely agree with podcasting
this year.
Private niche
Now,
communities.
private niche communities are nothing new. In fact, if you've been on Facebook ever and have discovered Facebook groups, you're going to know that there are hardly, great communities that are just very general, like here's a health community and here's a food community. No, the great communities are the ones that are niched down, like an Indian food community or perhaps a marathon runners for people over 50 community. Those are the places where people can find others like them, and that creates a really amazing feeling because you feel like you've connected with somebody who's just like you on the other side of the world. But
Agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why I created the Pensieve, our Discord community, because I want to bring people that want to learn more about marketing, product, and growth in general into one place to share resources, help each other out. And that's a niche that's potentially young professionals that want to get out of their comfort zone, learn more, and do it so with people around them to help them guide and avoid mistakes that have already been taken by others. So niche communities definitely agreed on. I think it's nothing new. We've also had MySpace pages, we had Facebook groups, we had subreddit, we've had a bunch of different formats. We've also have Patreon communities on Strava for example, at athletes. You also have groups within Strava. So regardless of the discipline or interest, you'll definitely find value in creating these niche communities, and that's sort of what Discord is leveraging as well. So just like you use Slack but mainly for professional groups of people, Discord is creating communities for any sort of interest, and the tool really helps bring those communities together. So definitely agree with this trend. I don't think there's much more to watch that isn't pretty straightforward. I wonder if they recommend some tools. Let's see.
a lot of people are now building private niche communities that they control, that are on their own platform or a platform that they use that they essentially can control. For example, I use a product for my community at SPI Pro, which is separate than Facebook, it's separate than LinkedIn, it's its own community that I control, my team and I kind of house through a product called Circle, circle.so. Full disclosure, I'm both an affiliate and an advisor for that company, which means I own shares of that company, so just keep that in mind. Some other great solutions out there as well, but I prefer Circle because it's sort of like a perfect marriage between Facebook groups and Slack and how easy they both are to use, all in one spot. And the cool thing is, it's people who are outside of these social media platforms now without distractions, without notifications from something else to happen. They can just know that in these communities, they are going to find people that are just like them, and we're going to take care of them. And it's just been such an amazing experience. And more people are doing this. How do I know?
So this is pretty interesting. So this content creator mentions a particular tool for people that don't want to be involved in social media, and then they don't want to get blasted with notifications like you could be on some communities on Discord, right? So I think that's very interesting. An insight that I take from this is that yes, private niche communities are important, but you also need to consider where are you gonna host that community, and that will really depend on the type of community, the type of audience you have. So if you have a group of runners about 50 years of age, will Discord be the right place, or would it be a group of WhatsApp that they've already learned how to use and interact, right? So take into consideration the space where you're going to be hosting the people based on their interests, their demographics, etc.
Because Circle recently day for the community.
Virtual summits, interesting.
Now, virtual summits aren't anything new.
I can write a blog post.
Is sort of like an event.
All right, so we have a question from Andres on YouTube. So I read about less than half of Google searches now result in a click. How do you think companies will face this situation? So this happens when you have search results that Google shows the content for without having to click on it. So let's see if I can think of one. Top marketing trends. This should work actually. Nope. Let's see. What? Right. So snippets or pieces of content within the search results that will give the user the answer without having to enter a page. That's what's causing people to be satisfied with the answers they're getting when looking for things on Google without having to click on it. But the thing is, if you want to learn more, then you'll definitely be clicking on this one because you already know their point of view about the answer. So there are a couple of things here. So you asked about how do you think companies will face this situation? Then the right approach would be to focus more and more on that authority, on this sort of search, or on the search queries that they're interested in being number one for. And to create that authority, they need to focus on creating highly relevant content to search queries that have the relevancy to their business and that have high search volume. So how to translate that? If there's a set of keywords that I know that have more than X amount of searches per month, and those keywords are highly relevant to my business because of the products or services that I offer, then I'll pay even more attention to the quality of the content that I'm publishing in order to rank on the first three. But there's also more technical things that you can be doing, or the companies that should be doing, which is, for example, adding certain markups or elements to the page that will generate that that authority or that credibility. So, for example, this article says the date where it was published to make it more relevant. Who wrote it? In this case, is a generic team, doesn't have the author's name in particular. So those are things that are elements within the content that make the content rank higher than other articles, for example. Then you also have things like this snippets that are actually generated by Google itself based on the markup in your page. So if I look for market terminology, let's look for that term on this page. It's because it has an H2 heading here. So the way that you mark your site's hierarchy or your page's hierarchy, that helps the Google algorithm to understand how that page is structured and which pieces of content might have more relevancy to the search queries or to the search from the user, right? And I do think, and this is my personal marketing trend that I would add to today's live stream, is that because SEO is becoming more and more relevant and there's an increasing demand for SEO in general, knowing what will get you ahead and understanding well what works and what doesn't for your particular business in terms of organic traffic, that's definitely gonna be one of the most crucial elements to work on in 2022. Virtual summits, I think this is a little bit self-explanatory. I'm not gonna go through this trend, but yeah, basically virtual events, conferences, whatnot, people got used to it through the pandemic. I've been attending and even speaking at some of these virtual summits before the pandemic since 2017. So I'm glad that these are getting a little bit more visibility as well, just because it creates the opportunity for more people to launch these events, these summits. Everyone is enabled to create them and promote them, and it enables less friction for users to attend, so have a wider audience. And with wider audience comes greater opportunities for revenue, for ads revenue within your summit. So it's interesting. TikTok for business, trend number 2. I'll listen to this one just because I'm interested in seeing what their perspective on TikTok for businesses.
All right, now TikTok. Let's talk about TikTok. TikTok is not just a platform for people dancing anymore, right? Oh, what? Subscribe to my video. This is great because not everybody can dance, or at least dance very well. The platform has grown up since its Musical.ly days. That's what it was previously known as. And now several businesses are flocking to TikTok for a couple of reasons. Number one, the algorithm. The algorithm is just tremendous for finding new people. It's just something that you could create a video and see millions of views out of nowhere. It's unlike even YouTube sometimes. And I don't know if you recently heard, but Google was recently overtaken by TikTok for the #1 most visited website in the world. Yeah, it's overtaken.
Wow. I did not know that last fact. about being overtaken, Google being overtaken by TikTok. That's definitely interesting. So here's the thing. I've actually been talking with some friends and getting advice to, how to reach more people. And one of the things that they've suggested me is going into TikTok. So I'm a little bit scared to do that, but I definitely know that the algorithm is definitely helping content creators reach a broader audience. So if I want more people to jump on the Juan Pensieve bandwagon and help more of our users here, more our audience, and have more engaging and fruitful conversations, I definitely need to get on that bandwagon. I don't know when. Hopefully in the near future, but I'll definitely educate myself before just hopping on there.
in Google. And where there is traffic, oftentimes that is a good spot to get in front of that traffic with your business. Now, advertising on TikTok is one thing, but also just creating organic content to entertain and to provide value and to bring emotion and story and highlight your success stories that you're creating for your audience. These are all great things you can do on TikTok. Another sign is that we're seeing now influencers, not just TikTok influencers and helping people create TikToks, but people who are stepping up to help businesses create TikToks and succeed. A good friend of mine, Kenya Kelly, is one of those people. And when we start to see people step up and start teaching this kind of stuff, that's how you know that this is something that's starting to trend, if not trending already, and it is. I highly recommend you check out Kenya if you are looking for advice on how to use TikTok specifically for business. I'll put a link in the description below for a video where she actually was one of our speakers at Audience Driven, one of our virtual summits last year, and she talked about exactly that. So you can.
Yeah, I'll definitely. First of all, let me hit the like button, subscribe, and there you go. Okay, I'll take that into consideration.
Check it out and get some wise words from her. But we're close to that point now where if you're a business and you're not on TikTok, you may miss
let's
out.
see what
And
the
you might be
last
surprised at the
trend
different kinds of
is.
demographics
I'm
and
curious
different kinds
about
of people
it.
you could reach on this platform now. It's not all teenagers anymore. Now, what's interesting about all these trends, right? It's except for TikTok. These are things that have been around for a very long time,
Yeah.
and they're just getting used in a different way, or there's a rush of people now starting to use this based on the environment that we're in. And this next trend is no different than that. This is text message marketing. Now, whenever I hear that phrase, right, I always get a little icky because I've been on the receiving end of some not so great text message marketing campaigns. Like, I like the text I get from my dry cleaners because I get a coupon, and that is valuable.
Yeah.
But I've subscribed to text messages from people before where I just literally get bombarded with, offer after offer after offer. I'm like, dude, you're blowing up my phone, and that's rude.
Pro tip here: if you do get, at least in the US, I don't know in other countries, but in the US, if you are feeling bombarded by a particular text message campaign from a brand or whatnot, regardless of the company, if you text back the word stop, it'll automatically unsubscribe you from any text message marketing campaigns. This is a standard here in the US, so regardless of the company or the platform that they're using, if you type back stop, it'll stop. Another pro tip here is that I particularly here in the US, I have a Google Voice number, which is not a fake number. I can get calls through that. I can get text messages, but I don't pay anything on a monthly basis. It has some limitations, but for example, for anything that is coupons or related, I'll always give that text message, that phone number to get text messages, and I just mute the notifications from that. And if I'm ever looking to buy something, I'll see if I've received the text message or not from that brand in my Google Voice text messages, and look for the coupons. But yeah. Thank you for following Mr. GJDP. Appreciate it. Yeah, and then with the trend in general, text message marketing, I think it really depends on the company. I know that for certain e-commerce platforms, it helps. And I'm not entirely sure about, B2B companies. So again, it's one of these channels that it really depends on your target audience. So if you have an audience that isn't very technologically savvy, so for example, or people that don't spend much time on their screens, for example, truck drivers, it might be very beneficial to have text messages so that whenever they do get a break, they can just look at it, and move on with their lives. They're also more likely to reply a text message than open an email that could go to their spam folder. So it's a little bit more direct, but it again depends on your audience. Gonzalo, okay, hey man, Thank you for hopping on. Appreciate you hopping on. Long time no speak. Hope you're doing all right. So this is the second video that we watch. I think I agree with all of them. I think some of these are very particular, like podcasting on YouTube. I think it's just video podcasting in general, because I do know a lot of podcasts growing on Patreon, and those are video and audio as well. So YouTube just really useful because it is a platform that will host as well. So it's not a channel for visibility, but also hosting your videos without paying anything for it. You don't have to pay a subscription to have 10 videos or a million videos. You can just put them for free, which is great. So virtual summits, I mean, growing trend, I'm not entirely sure, but sure. TikTok for business, definitely, and again, depending on your business. And text messages, text message marketing, definitely agree, but it really depends again on who your target audience is. I wouldn't do it for every single business. I think we are running out of time, so I'm not entirely sure we should watch another video, but what I can do is give my own perspective on what the marketing trends I see for 2022 are. So marketing in general has been transitioning from a very sparkling and glitter type career in the past to a more analytical approach. And even though it's always been important and necessary to create marketing strategies with data-backed decisions, I think more than ever, having analytical tools and data tracking tools and data strong people in your marketing teams is more important than ever, particularly when you have this like an increasing number of new channels to communicate with your clients, whether it's for acquisition purposes or it's for retention purposes or just conversion. Regardless of the channel of communication with your clients, you will need to be able to track those conversations, do follow up, understand the data, what's working, what's not, testing. We talked about last week about conversion rate optimization, and from a marketing's perspective, you would definitely need to have that quantitative approach to understand what works and what not. So one growing trend within marketing is that data let's phrase this, data strong professionals and data enabling tools will continue to grow in 2022 more than ever, because of how many channels your audiences are now exposed to compared to last year or the previous year. So that's one big trend that I see, which is related to data in marketing. Another thing that I've noticed within marketing is that because of this growth in communication channels with your potential clients is hyper specialization of professionals. So the more you create that sort of I-shaped career, or you create that specialization for yourself within a particular area of marketing, it'll make you more competitive within that area than generalists. And I do think that bigger companies growing companies in particular are looking to that hyper specialization in professionals, just because generalists are usually very helpful for starting a project, starting a company, or the very early beginnings of a spin-off or a new project or a pivot, because they can wear multiple hats. But then as a company grows, they identify, because of data, what are the specific areas they need to be great at, and by having more people hyper specialized in these areas, they can become more efficient than having multiple generalists working on different things at a okay level. So I think hyper specialization within all the areas of marketing is definitely a growing trend. We see that in agencies that used to focus only on PPC, and then they started hiring sorry, they used to focus only on Google Ads, and then they started branching out to hiring Facebook ads professionals, then Snapchat, then now TikTok, and now they are increasing their value to their clients with SEO services. But you know, one person can do all of that, but if you want to provide premium value to your clients, having hyper specialized professionals in each of these will definitely be more valuable. And that's also particularly true for people in these careers that are they're starting their career or transitioning into a marketing career. Finding that niche in which you can distinguish yourself and you can work on and focus all your time of learning into one particular area will get you farther quicker, and then you can start growing into a T-shaped professional. So yeah, that's probably the other trend that I wanted to share. Other trends such as, yes, we'll continue to be remote. Yes, there'll be more venues of opportunities for marketers to work on, like the metaverse or other sort of venues within gaming in general, within all these new streaming platforms. So Twitch, for example, just released their um, studying or their academy platform for Twitch advertising. And Twitch is one of those platforms that has that has grown particularly during the pandemic at insane rates. And by them offering education for users to learn how to use their advertising tools, they're creating a whole new career, which is Twitch advertisers. And companies that are looking to get into Twitch will now look to hire people with these certifications or this particular knowledge, this particular specialization. So same applies with TikTok and other channels, such as Roblox, or things that weren't that hyped a couple of years ago, but they are now getting a lot more attention, a lot more eyes, therefore need more people to work on that communication with people, with potential users in this placement. So that's another trend that I'm seeing. To be respectful and mindful of everyone's time, I think I'm gonna cut it here at the 1 hour mark. Are there any questions in terms of the marketing trends that we've seen so far? Any marketing trends that you'd like to review live? Any questions like the one that Andres Bello had about Google searches and trends within Google searches in general and behavior and how companies should adapt to them? Are there any questions regarding trends that you would like to discuss and get a sense of whether they're true, where they're going, if they're too subjective, they're very objective, whatnot? Open to your questions. Gonzalo says, it's not my cup of tea, of course. I'm on the international accounting area and audit, but very interesting talk, Juan. Thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you for hopping on. Yes, abrazo from London. Take care, man. Thank you for hopping on. Appreciate it. I just realized that I never changed the topic box here on the top right. It just said announcements, but yeah, that's fine. Well, I've really enjoyed this particular type of video. I think I'm going to share it on social media after it's finished uploading on YouTube and Twitch. And I would love to have your feedback in terms of this type of content, looking at things that are online about marketing product or growth and getting a second opinion, or my reaction and the reaction of people in the chat on these topics, whether they're true or not, whether they've seen it, they've experienced it or not in their day-to-day. Let me know your feedback about today's format, today's content. I particularly enjoyed it. As I said, I'm a very skeptic person, so I love looking at what's out there, what people are saying, and then understanding, what the depth or the reality or how real some of these claims are. If there are no more questions, I think I'm gonna call it a day. And thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for interacting on the chat. Thank you so much for asking questions. Thank you for the follows. So until next week, don't forget to follow on social media. Don't forget to join the Discord server. There's a new post on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn about how to join the Discord. And I'll share that again later today. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for hopping on Juan's Pensieve. Appreciate it. Bye.